I've got some breaking news for you today. We have images of illegal migrants and foreign offenders being deported from the UK. They've just been released for the very first time as the government confirms that 19,000 foreign nationals have been removed from the country since the Labour Party came to power in July. Now, this unprecedented move is part of a drive by the new government to try to show it is taking tough action on those with no right to live or work in Britain. However, more controversially, only a tiny fraction of the thousands and thousands of deportations include those who cross the English Channel illegally on small boats. Now, to continue this conversation further, I'm joined by our Home and Security Editor, Mark White. Mark, this video is being broken now. It's the first time the Home Office has shown any such footage. What's the rationale behind it?
Well, Martin, it's hard to understate, really, or overstate, I should say, the unprecedented nature of what we're about to see here. We can look now at the images released from the Home Office showing a plane waiting on the tarmac to take foreign national offenders and also to take those other illegal immigrants on a charter flight to a location that's undisclosed. The Home Office are telling us very little about the details of the flight. GB News understands that it may well have been a location or locations within Eastern Europe, and you can see a mix there of some of those people who are being removed, going up the steps and closely surrounded by multiple security personnel. You're seeing it from multiple angles. A bus that's waiting on the tarmac there, people coming off that bus, then going up what is a covered staircase to that aircraft to stop anybody jumping off those stairs and trying to flee from that area. And that's why, because some of those going up those steps are what they call non-compliant, then there are multiple security staff around those individuals. And some of them as well, you may be able to make out on some of the images, some of those are actually restrained. This gentleman here is not restrained. He moved his hands apart. But another one of these immigrants coming up the steps shortly is restrained, and you can see that his hands are bound together, and there is a restraint around their waist as well, which the hand or wrist binding is attached to as well. Now, what we're told by officials is that about 1 in 10 of those who they remove on these deportation flights require some form of restraint, that they are non-compliant. This gentleman coming off now, we believe, is bound. It's difficult to see because it's quite gloomy there, but the wrists are bound, and you can see that that aircraft is now taking off to, as I say, an undisclosed destination, Martin, but we believe somewhere in Eastern Europe. There were 47 people on board that flight. 24 of them were foreign national offenders. Now, before we see some more of that footage again, we've just been speaking to the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, and she was asked about the fact that, you know, as welcome as many people will see the deportation of, we're told, 19,000 illegals and foreign national offenders since Labour came to power, only a tiny proportion of those are actually small boat migrants, the most visible manifestation of the small boat crisis. This is what the Home Secretary told us a short time ago.
Well, we need to prevent these dangerous boat crossings in the first place. That's why we are today in Parliament debating new counter-terror style powers to go after the criminal gangs. And we also need to clear the ridiculous backlog that we inherited from the Conservatives, so that also small boat arrivals who have no right to be in the UK can also be returned as part of the increase in returns and enforcement that this Labour government has been setting out. We have to make sure rules are respected and enforced.
the Home Secretary there, and it is all about optics at the end of the day. The government, the new government, of course, only coming into power in July of last year, wants to show that it is true to the promise that it made to get tough on illegal immigration. And that's why these images are being released. And as I said at the beginning there, Martin, it's difficult to overstate just how significant it is to be able to see for the first time people actually in the process of being deported, because there are all kinds of images, as we're more than aware, about human rights legislation under the ECHR and other human rights rules, Data Protection Act, that the previous Conservative government, despite us over years asking them, show us what you're doing, show us the deportation of these people that you say you're getting transferred back to their own countries at a rate of, thousands a month. Show us some of these images. They never did. Well, Labour have grasped the thistle here and have decided to do that, despite the obvious criticism that they will get from human rights groups for doing this.
And as you say there, an unprecedented move, the Home Office releasing footage of these foreign offenders being deported on these flights here, 47 on that one flight, including 24 foreign national offenders, as part of 19,000 deportations the Labour Party are claiming since they came into power. Optics that look very much like you'd expect from, a certain Mr. Donald Trump. Mark White, excellent stuff. A first time we've seen under the belly, as it were, of these operations from the Home Office. Thank you very much, Mark White. Let's get back to the studio now and continue a debate on this. I'm joined by the Reform UK MP for Boston and Skegness and the Deputy Leader of Reform Party, Richard Tice, and also the former editor of Labour List, Peter Edwards. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. Richard Tice, let's start with you. So, the Labour Party looking tough on deportation here, echoing the optics of a certain Mr. Donald Trump. Why do you think they're doing this?
Well, credit where credit's due. The Home Office is quite right to have a bit more transparency and to show the British people that actually they're getting on with the job that they're paid to do, which is to deport people who are here illegally. I mean, these numbers of 19,000 supposedly since the election, it is still less than the Labour Party were deporting some 15 years ago in the late 2000s. And the other data that came out today about they're proudly saying they've arrested 600 illegal workers in the month of January. That's 20 a day. I could arrest, if I was entitled to, 20 people in Boston alone of illegal working in barbers' shops, in vape shops, on farms and things. I mean, it's a pathetic drop in the ocean. What they should continue to do now, though, is show more transparency by saying, where are they from? Where are they going back to? Which countries have people come that have been arrested? Continue that transparency that they've just got a little touch of.
Why do you think they're doing this for the first time now? I mean,
they're terrified of reform. It's obvious.
We were hearing that a lot of people don't believe. You talk about, I was in Boston Skegness a couple of Fridays ago, as you know, on Brexit Day, and people there I was speaking to don't believe that the government is clamping down, the previous government as well. Is this a very obvious manifestation? Let's put a video out to show that we're actually doing something.
And I say, credit where credit's due. That's what the British people want to see. They want to know this is happening. Quite like to know, please, where are they being sent to? Who's committing the crimes? Who are they arresting? Where are they from? So we get some transparency on this, and that's now, I think, where the Home Office needs to go and accelerate the programme, because, frankly, arresting 600 illegal workers in 1 month is a drop in the ocean. It's absolutely irrelevant. I could order 50 fast food deliveries in one day and get at least 20 illegal workers delivering that food to me.
Let's bring in now Peter Edwards. How does it make you feel as a member of the Labour Party, or certainly someone from the left of the political spectrum? This is the kind of thing that Donald Trump would be proud of, marching people in manacles up onto flights. How does it make you feel as a member of the Labour Party?
Well, it's not about marching people in manacles, as you put it. I think anyone, left, right or centre, wants to see repercussions for break the rules. Otherwise, we'd have zero prisons in Britain. We have prisons because, sadly, they're necessary and people break the rules. And we have deportations, sadly, because people break the rules. And I know especially under Corbyn, there's been a bit of perception that Labour membership is populated by a bunch of liberal softies. But it's in the interests of everyone, rich or poor, left, right or centre, that there is a comeback. if you break the rules. And this video, we're talking about it because it's the first time any government of any stripe has published a video of this nature. And the reason they're doing that is to restore public trust in the immigration system. Secondly, the video, I felt very sad to see it, but it was actually carried out with dignity in quite a sober fashion. And we do have to accept that if people break the rules, you know, there are going to be issues that follow. And I say that because for many years I was a court reporter as a newspaper journalist, and we can't feel queasy when we see justice being implemented.
But there are 9,000 foreign nationals in British jails. They might be a good starting point. But look, Richard Tice, on a positive note, wasn't that long ago that Sir Keir Starmer, Dawn Butler, Diane Abbott, Nadia Whittome, a lot of other Labour MPs and luminaires were signing letters to stop people being deported to places like Jamaica.
Which was shocking and shameful, and I think it does show that the pressure that reform has imposed on the whole political debate in this area, and this is a direct result of that, a direct result of us going up in the polls, leading in the polls or equal first with Labour. They know they've got essentially a political battle on their hands, and that's a good thing. That's what competition is all about. We're making them stand up and actually do what the British people want, which is deport people who are not here legally.
Peter Abbott, you're shaking your head there.
Well, Reform has 5 MPs, not 50, not 150, just 5. It's doing a bit better in the polls at the moment. But the idea that any of this has been triggered by Reform is a nonsense. You know, public concern over the immigration system goes back 20 or 30 years. And again, there's nothing wrong with admitting that. It's good to be honest. But, you know, I must say it's in Reform's interest to foster a sense of grievance, whether that's about the economy or the migration system or about the political establishment, because otherwise they wouldn't get a hearing.
Richard?
Well, we're getting quite a good hearing. I mean, you may have missed the polls in the last couple of weeks, but we're in 25, 28, 29% in the polls, neck and neck with Labour. That's a great thing because it makes people perform. And actually, I think what people are saying is Reform talk common sense solutions to the issues that matter to us most, whether it be with regard to immigration or actually the state of the economy.